Howdy, all Molvex Lives. I think it's time to play a little Some Days Die. Ooh, I don't know why I got that in there. I don't need that either. So, did a bit of, I don't know, YouTube watching over the weekend. I definitely got caught up in, some Slender Man stuff. Found a channel I was rather enjoying about, various horror story series that are on like YouTube and stuff, and mostly they were looking at like ARGs, which if you don't know what an ARG is usually like a story that you watch, but also might have things for the audience to participate with, especially when it's online. There's a lot of not a lot, I guess, but there's you know, various stories out there where it'll be like okay, so a long time ago I watched one. I don't know what the name of the series is. I'm trying to think of what it was called. It's, I want to say like Lonely Girl 19 was one that I had come across that I thought was pretty fun. That I watched for ages because there's a lot of videos to that series. And oh shoot, you know what? I actually need some of this to replant. Got 4 corn seed. I need 6 more. And so like the okay, and then I need 4 more of those. And so like there's like a story part, right? Like you're watching a show. And but then there's also the posts and the comments, and I mean we got Reddit and Discord and stuff like that now. And so it'll be like, we found these weird symbols, we don't know what they are. And then, you know, they'll be actual things, or you know, there'll be some kind of code. Do I do that in here? And so then you've got to, I mean, you don't have to, obviously, but oh, I didn't have enough empty jars. I need empty jars. Can I make jars? And so it's pretty fun, I think. And you know, and so then like the because it's on YouTube, they're usually set in a style of a vlog, and then like the cast will interact with what's happening. Um, you know, when people solve a riddle or a clue or something, then they'll be like, "Oh, you know, thanks for figuring this out," kind of thing. And so I've watched a few of those, and I find them to be quite fun sometimes. I mean, I don't constantly watch them, so um, there's that. Man, I need to go hunting. Oh, did you see all that water in here? Okay, what am I missing for my meal? Nothing. Um, yeah, and so like the one that I watched was the original one I watched. I don't know if it was the original one I watched, but the one that I remember being the original one I watched, Lonely Girl. I'm sure I probably have seen other ones like them. Was basically a girl being raised to be sacrificed in a cult, right? And so it had an alright story as you went, and it was fun to watch the clues as they came through, and people, you know, solving the clues and leaving the comments with the answers, and or like a lot of times there'll be like multiple channels involved, and so you get like one person leaving one video here, and then the oh, I must not have any quests, and then the people will be like, oh, you should have seen what he said over on the other channel, and don't trust him, you know, that kind of stuff. And so I found it to be quite fun sometimes. And the I watched a few Slenderverse ARG. I don't know what to even call them. They're not reviews, but they go in deep detail over what went down in the series and what the clues were, and you know, because I am not going to a solve anything, and b I'm not going to be joining a bunch of social media and interacting to you know, to find all that stuff, and I'm not going to be constantly browsing Reddit. And a lot of these series are like multi-year things where there's huge gaps. And so if you're not watching it, you're gonna forget it exists if you're like me, and then never know what happened. So yeah, I've been enjoying going on these channels that go into deep dives into these different series, and I enjoyed them. They were some were better than others, um, and but that's I don't know, that's kind of what I spent my whole weekend doing, was just the grass was basically too brown to mow this week, so I didn't mow the lawn. And so I sat around watching that while I actually played Lawnmower Simulator, because I didn't have to. I came in my humble choice this month, and so I just sat around playing that nonsense. It's an alright game. I mean, you just mow the lawn, round and round and round. I don't know. Let's see. Let's go ahead and take a nice fetch and clear here. How we got for ammo? We've got no ammo, so I don't think I have any ammo back in my base. Maybe I should. I don't have a chemistry station. Okay, I don't have a beaker. That's a problem. I don't have a beaker. Well, I did see a pharmacy on the way, so maybe we can stop in there and see if they've got one. But yeah, a lot of them were really old, like from the early 2000s kind of thing. Some were better than others. Like I said, I was trying to think of the names of what I watched. I can't even remember what I watched. I'm so terrible with names. One of them kept coming up in stuff that I was watching, and so I watched the one on Marble Hornets, which was okay. The thing is that I don't really know a lot about Slender Man. What I do know is that he was originally... Oh, look. That's funny. That's funny. I wanted to come here to check to see if they had a thing, and this is where I'm supposed to come and clear. Listen, I don't... And so what I found is that these Slenderman related stories aren't about Slenderman. So it's curious that he's even really included, honestly. Oh, hi. And so basically, uh, basically, Marble Hornets. I guess spoilers for these shows. Like I said, I watched a deep dive channel that went into all the all the different bits and pieces that make up one of these ARG shows, the clues and the tweets and the back and forths and the other channels that tie into them and all that. So it's not like I had to hunt it down myself because I definitely can't be bothered. If that's your thing, go right for it. I'm not saying it's a bad setup. It's very interesting and sometimes very cool from some of the stuff I've seen. It's just not something that I could ever follow. It's just too much work to hunt down the odd twists and turns and extra channels and hidden messages on other boards and you know stuff like that. But I guess spoilers for these shows. Marble Hornets was I wouldn't. I mean, it was like the original that these others were kind of based off of. And it started shortly after Slenderman became a thing. But Slenderman's in it, but he's not like a character in it. It's really like this director is directing a movie, and um, their version of Slenderman is called the Controller. I think it's called the Controller, and basically forces or possesses or drives insane the director, and so he starts hunting everybody down, killing them. And so it was interesting because it spanned a really long time, and you never know who's responsible for what, and there's all these like clues and stuff that people had to figure out before they could move on to the next one. Um, and And so I thought that was fun. And then the other two that I really enjoyed, well, I enjoyed the one I enjoyed most of all was Everyman Hybrid. Was definitely my favorite that I watched. And that one actually spilled over into a lot of different ones. Now, there's a lot of other series that are tied into them that I. Ooh, her arm is really floppy, like it's almost broken off. See that wrist just flopping around? That's cool. I like that. Um, oh, great. I don't like that. And so that one was definitely the best one I felt. They said it took them 8 years to tell the story, and again, Slenderman is a character in it, but he's got such a tiny part that it might not as well have even mentioned him. In fact, Everyman Hybrid has got the Rake, which is like an SCP thing. Um, Again, such a small part, might as well not even be part of it. Um, well, I am not finding the beaker I need. I guess I could have shopped and looked for one. I mean, I'll take all this medicine back with me. I'm not going to turn that down. So, yeah, so Everyman Hybrid I thought was really, really fun. It started off with this story, like they were making a channel to teach people about health. That's why it was initially called Everyman Hybrid. And then it turned out that Everyman Hybrid was probably a special like code for what they were doing. And so it I mean it's pretty interesting when they throw in like clues at the beginning, but because you don't know what's going on, you don't know that it's a clue. And so eventually, what happens is they do a Slenderman prank video, and then from that, it they drew the attention of Slenderman, and that's weird. Those are biological barrels, but I pulled out some fuel. Oh man, chemistry set, you could have given me the thing I'm looking for. You could have, but you didn't. It's back in here. Weird. So, yeah, I thought that one was the most fun, and it did spin off into it. Okay, it didn't spin off. It had guest appearances by several other series, which I also thought was fun. That there were different groups telling different stories, and they were willing to work with each other. And so even though the lore for their series might be slightly different, it was fun to see other series peoples, you know, pop up. Even though I didn't have any idea who any of them were, it was just cool when the guy I was watching was like, "Yeah, and so this is from this other series, and this guy's from this other series," and but what made Everyman Hybrid my favorite was their bad guy. Their bad guy was spectacular. Uh, uh, and the little clues they dropped along the way made it a lot of fun. And then the story was just downright good. Um, I rather enjoyed their crazy story. Uh, it so after they tripped Slenderman into acknowledging them accidentally. Um, Basically, you don't know what's going on, and one of their guys gets possessed. And so once he gets possessed, well, no, it's not even that. Again, Slenderman not really part of this story, which is what makes it super crazy. Slenderman is there. Slenderman is a character that is related to the story, but really, the story is about Habit. And Habit is this character uh, who was one of the guys is possessed by Habit, and Habit is like the Joker, or you know something along those lines. Maybe not as. I mean, he's a vicious killer. Don't get me wrong. He has got like people in his bathroom that he's pulled off the streets to murder because he likes to murder. Right? He's a bad guy. uh, but he is so much fun on that show. I uh, I found myself just there we go. There's a beaker. Awesome. Well, I can at least build a chemistry station. I think that only takes one, right? Chemistry needs one beaker. Yes. All right. Ooh, it also needs 5 bottles of acid. That's a lot of acid. I don't know if I have that much. Oops. Ooh. I've only got 2 minutes left. I'm not wasting them now. You had your chance. Chance is over. Um, and yeah, and they did some really fun stuff with time travel. Not time travel. Oh, this just goes outside. Okay. I thought they wanted you to like crawl through here into this trash stuff, I guess. So they did this weird thing with as the story goes, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, and like some of them are being killed off, and none of them know why they're being killed off. It turns out that one of the characters is possessed by Habit, but if you'd been paying attention as the series was going, Habit revealed himself very, very early on, and so um, the people who were watching the show while the show was going on, they got clues from Habit, and then Habit had a big game where they had to solve these clues, and if they solved the clues, then they would get to continue on in the story. And he basically did a thing where they put a bunch of people on teams, like real life people on teams, and then as they solved or did things, which included crazy stuff like reading this poem out loud to groups of strangers, um, or taking photos of or video of them giving a present to people and saying this is what I feel about our relationship, and then destroying the present. Like it was crazy stuff. And so, dang it, I want to take this food with me, but I don't really have a lot of room of stuff I also want to get rid of. Guess I don't really want to. I need to go back to my base. That's what I need to do. Listen, guys, I just said I was going back to my base. I need to go back and see if I got 5 bottles of acid. So, so it turned out that it was all this big crazy thing where this group of people were kept in limbo, and then they were spun out over and over again to fight against Habit. And Habit was trying to make the perfect host because he had discovered a way to take the energy from murder and use it to turn his host impervious, or invulnerable, whatever, along those lines, something along those lines. And so somehow it seems like him repeating this cycle of people over and over again, that he had made the perfect host. And by the end of the series, it turned out he was bored. He had made the perfect host, and now it was just too easy to hunt and kill whoever he wanted. Um, Granted, he had a lot of supernatural powers as well, beyond his ability to possess. With his interdimensional shifting of places and things, they did some really cool stuff where, like, they'll go into a room and in the closet will be a crawl space, and they'll enter the crawl space, and then the crawl space is longer than it was, and then when they come out the other side, they come out in like a park that's miles from the house. And so they do a lot of cool camera work where they'll show this, and so that was pretty fun. uh and so uh yeah, and so when they do get to the end, after, I thought this was really cool. So the one character who's kind of the other main character on the series besides Habit, is the one human, um, Vince. And there's a point in there where he's using clues from an audio log, that he made playing a different version of himself, discussing uh, uh, how he came to find these specific clues for this symbol that they needed. And in his discussion of audio logs, he talked about this zine that led him to the people he needed to talk to. And then later, they found other clues from an even earlier version of himself, that of him being interviewed by the guy who started the zine, but not the zine. Not it wasn't his interview that led him to the clues. It was so it was like, because they didn't come back in the same time over and over again. They would play the game and then they would be killed, and then they'd be spun back out, to play the game again, but at a different time. And uh, so yeah, it was pretty fun. And Habit was just the dude playing Habit was so good at Habit. Uh, he is one of my favorite bad guy characters now, ever. And he's a lot like the Joker, who's one of my other favorite bad guy characters. People were saying he was more like Beetlejuice, but it's been a long time since I've seen Beetlejuice, so I don't know how much he was like Beetlejuice, but he did remind me a lot of the Joker. And but it was really fun. I really enjoyed that series. But it was 8 years worth of content that I watched this multi-part. I think there were 7 or 8 parts to it, and they were all like multiple hours long. So it was like watching a TV show. Basically, I marathoned a bunch of TV shows over the weekend, all related to not Slender Man, but sorta. Slender Man was there. Habit and Slender Man had an agreement, and Habit felt that Slender Man had broken his agreement. And but I mean, they didn't like fight each other. And oh right, acid. I came here to see if I had 5 balls. I do not have 5 balls of acid. Okay, so I am gonna have to go find some acid. I think it's too late in the day though to head back out uh, to the stores. Unfortunately, uh, but then the other series that I watched was not as good, but the special effects were unbelievable. And that was 12 Tribes. And 12 Tribes was heavily connected to Everyman Hybrid. Um, it he showed up in Everyman Hybrid, and then they showed up in his story, and Habit showed up a couple of times in his story. But he also did a lot of the crossing over stuff, um, which was cool. But I didn't think he was as good of an actor as the guys in Everyman Hybrid. I definitely felt like the Everyman Hybrid had a better um, quality of actor in it than most of the others. And then, like I said, I feel like the dude that played Habit was just top notch um, in his role. Yes, yes, I know. I told you to make a bunch of water. Um, and there was so there's this one part, right? There's one part in 12 Tribe where Habit shows up, and basically so Everyman Hybrid is a story about these four people who keep getting five people who keep getting spun back out over and over, and uh, and as far as I can tell, Marble Hornets was about a director who went crazy. 12 Tribe was about a guy who went crazy, and his his characters were supposed to be um, subparts of Slenderman. And so Slenderman doesn't directly interact with people. Instead, in this one, Slenderman had like other personalities that he would possess people with. Like again, I don't know what Slenderman's supposed to be able to do. And so um, one of the personalities was the Observer, and they wanted the main character in that one, Noah, to become the new Observer because the possession taxes their hosts terribly and they eventually die, and so they need replacement bodies basically. And so Noah is supposed to be this new replacement, but they also want Noah to get his hands on his grandfather's journal, which has some kind of information that will protect you from Slenderman in it, apparently. And so um, that one was okay, but his special effects were some of the best out of anything I watched. His cuts from like he did the teleport through things as well. Like you open a door and it leads to a different place. Um, where I feel like Everyman Everyman Hybrid, a lot of their stuff was practical effects, where they just basically mocked up the bathroom from one of the houses, so that when they open the door, they're in somebody else's house. Uh, the effects in 12 Tribe was digital, and so he would take a step and just be someplace else. But the steps would take place while the camera was moving, and so you'd get like that motion blur effect, but it looked natural, and then he would just be someplace else. And so there was a lot of that was really, really well done. And I know this is a dumb thing, but one of the really cool effects I thought was the different bad guys had different writing formats on the screen when they would leave a message. And so the observer left his messages in a scratchy looking font. And he left a happy birthday message for Noah at one point. And so the font is all this scratchy stuff, and it's moving and stuff on the screen, right? It's not a just a solid font. It's animated. But then they zoom in on part of it, and when they zoom in on part of the message, the top of the scratchy writing became a silhouette of a candle. It was so well done that it just looked like they paused the writing when they switched from the writing to the silhouette of the candle. And it was just a lot of stuff like that was really cool. In that, again, I don't think the story was as good, and it didn't end very well. It just kind of petered off because I don't know. I guess bad things happened with the guy did bad things maybe in real life that kind of ended this show. But yeah, I Habit though. That's right. Habit, my favorite character, is in there for this one scene, and so Habit pulls him through into his house, pulls Noah from his house to Habit's house, and he needs Noah to draw this symbol, and so when he finally gets Noah to draw the symbol, he's like threatening to kill him and stuff, and so he gets Noah to draw the symbol, and he's like, ah, yes, there it is, and he says a couple other lines about where it comes from and what it means and stuff, and he's like, but here it is, my perfect little symbol, and we'll just give it some happy little hills and some happy little trees, and he draws some hills and trees on the whiteboard with the symbol, and mimicking, doing a Habit impersonation of Bob Ross, right? And he's like, "Well, that's it. I'm done with you, and it's time for you to go." And he takes him and he just shoves him out the front door. And the dude was like, "I don't even know where I'm at," and he's like, "I don't care. I've got pizza coming, and I don't want to share." It was so funny. It was so good. Man, I really like Habit. Uh, but yep, that was my weekend. I didn't really watch. I mean, I watched that Thor: Love and Thunder, but I already talked about that and how much I hated it. I hated it so much. Um, and so between that and the other shows that I watched on YouTube, I enjoyed those a lot better. All right, well, with that, I better go. So, bearing the small things, lean in the light. I will talk to you later.